Neighbor calls the police on a kid who opened a food stall, pushing them to do something out of character. But before we start, please make sure to subscribe to M&R TV and hit the bell so you never miss any upload from us. Also, leave a like right now. We all know that the world we live in is not perfect. In fact, it is filled with people that do not mind spending the majority of their time causing problems. There are so many people who plan on disrupting other people's lives or ruining someone else's peace. We are living with humans that spend their time planning trouble for everyone around them. Not even people like this little 13-year-old kid who is busy trying to earn money is being spared by cruel people. As this young boy was trying to make $1, he had an encounter with people who were not as kind as some. They were causing a problem, and so the only sensible thing for this kid to do was to call for help. And who better than the police to cry to for help? And so when the Minnesota police received a call, they knew how to react to a complaint that seemed a little odd. We know that life is not always rainbows and butterflies. We must live through the hard times to get to the good times. Not everyone is the same, and unfortunately there are so many people who do not mind causing issues for others. As we had mentioned earlier, the world is laden with ferocious people who do not feel bad about causing trouble at every location they find themselves in. There are so many crimes and nuances that have been direct results of people wrongdoings. These days, there is an overwhelming number of reports about people randomly making a call to the police and filing complaints about weird incidents, just like the woman in the above picture had done. This is how everything took place from the beginning. Well, like we said, this story involved a young kid and a call that was made to the police. This is Jaquan Faulkner. He is a boy age 13 and someone who decided that he was going to earn some money himself. He was the type of kid that did not want to ask his parents for money. He was someone who wished to do some work himself instead. He was a kid that was not comfortable with taking money from his parents' pockets. He did not want to be the kind of son that was dependent on his parents' money, even though he was barely a teenager yet. So he came up with a plan to make sure that he did not trouble his family for money. He was quite the innovative child that took his interest in food making to churn out some money. So what can a young boy his age do to earn some cash? After all, what can someone as young as 13 do to get money? His love for food was something that he knew he had to capitalize on, but he still did not want to bother his relatives. The boy decided to start a hot dog stand by himself each summer. After who lived in the area soon learned how sweet this boy was. Jaquan is a kid that any parent would be proud to have as a son. After all, the young boy is learning to be somewhat financially independent, attempting to build himself a small business that he can earn the money he needs for himself. The fact that he is learning to be responsible from an early age is something truly inspiring. He received full support from his parents. We must keep in mind that even Jaquan's parents were folks that ought to be praised. They were focused on teaching him that people get cash and buy what they need or want by getting jobs and working for it. It was something that they needed to inoculate in the minds of their kids at a very young age. This is indeed a very tough lesson about life that most kids get shielded from. Jaquan had always been an obedient boy who wished to please others around him. Anyone who had ever met him could immediately tell that this boy was a well-behaved kid who was never a nuisance. Since Jaquan is a special boy, he did not react to the lessons about working hard like other kids normally would. He was quick to realize that in life, success comes to those who are not afraid to sweat for it. Like we had mentioned, Jaquan is such a different child as compared to others his age. One amazing thing about Jaquan is that while his peers would probably spend their time experimenting and involving themselves with bad things and rebelling, he was not leaning towards this negative side at all. This young boy was not at all the kind to sit idle and waste his time. This kid was not joking when he told his parents that he wanted to earn his own money. He was not just saying this, he was putting it into action. Jaquan would wake up in the wee hours of the day when he was not attending school to work on his business plan. He was a kid who wanted to make good of his life and not just waste time. This seemed all positive, but you will soon learn that others did not hesitate to see obstacles. His parents were quite proud of the boy as he was not willing to take any money from them when he started his own business. He had a very inspiring reason behind why he wanted to make money and work. When people would ask Jaquan the reason why he would stand next to his hot dog stand, his reply was that he wanted to buy his own clothes when he went back to school. You would think that anyone who saw a young kid trying to make his own money would feel motivated and inspired, right? Well, this was sadly not the case for everybody. One day, a woman who was a neighbor to the boy's family made an unnecessary decision to ruin everything. Allow us to fill you in on what exactly went down each day at his stall and why this lady made a call to the cops. For any parent, it would be a delight to see that your kid is not one to waste away your money and wants to do something to earn themselves. So rightfully, Jaquan's parents were glad to see that their child was not one to just take from them. They were happy to learn that their kid made a realization about the value of money very early on and tried to make his own bucks. They were already pleased with the fact that Jaquan was actually making his own money. But there was one other thing that made his parents all the more proud. It was the fact that their son actually made really tasty food and was being productive, rather than causing trouble and being a rambunctious kid. However, not everybody saw the good in the kid. The neighbor was not so pleased and ended up doing something crazy. So as Jaquan was doing all he can to save up for his school clothes, working every minute of whatever time he had, something took place that shook everyone. Although Jaquan was busy with his hot dog stand each summer, a neighbor of theirs decided to become a nuisance to him and his blooming business. The nosy neighbor actually made a call to the police regarding the kid. To actually go above and beyond to become an obstacle for the kid would make anyone kind of villainous. This would especially apply if you're an adult. For a grown-up to call the cops on a young kid is something truly unbelievable, right? An adult woman actually wants to end Jaquan's hot dog stand. So what did the police have to say about all of this? When the neighbor made a call to complain about Jaquan's hot dog business, she had quite a lot to say to the police. So when they picked up the call, they knew exactly how to respond to the 911 call. The police officers were in a hurry to get to the scene, only to realize that a hard-working kid who was doing all he could to earn money was taking care of a hot dog stall. So for a police officer, it is their duty to ensure that the community is safe and peaceful. They need to take every matter they are informed about seriously and verify what goes wrong. And so what would be your guess when the police reached the boy's stall? They took a close look at what was happening in and around Jaquan's hot dog stall. Their decision astounded the neighbor and everyone else. So the call was made by an evidently irritated neighbor lady who wanted Jaquan's stall to be shut down immediately. She called the police, telling them that it was causing a nuisance for her and the community she was living in. But the police did something beyond her expectation. Instead of closing down Jaquan's hot dog stand, the police made a decision that no one thought they would make. The lady that called upon the police officers had one clear intention when she made the phone call. It was to make sure that her neighbor's kid, Jaquan's hot dog business, would be ruined. To her, his business was something that was a disturbance and she did not want to witness it anymore. But the police saw how the kid was working, instead decided to make a call themselves. Since we all know that a business owner needs to have their business checked and inspected, the police officers made a decision to do the same for the boy. They knew that they needed to be validated, so they made a call. So who did they call? Well, they reached out to the health department, but what would this be for? Were they going to shut it off as the neighbor lady requested? The police wanted to make sure that the little boy did everything right with his business. Even though there was a complaint about him, they could clearly see that he was just doing business for the good and was not actually creating problems for anyone. When they called the health department, they came to teach Jaquan everything he was to know about making delicious food, even handing him an official permit. This was not all. The kid had been making the most of whatever he had, trying to earn whatever he could from the hot dogs he made. The 13-year-old would make food on a small table where he would also serve them. So when the police officers saw what he was working with, they knew they had to do something about it. They all decided that donating some money to buy him a proper stand would be helpful. So even though the neighbor lady wanted Jaquan's business to fall to the ground, the police saw how hardworking and determined the little kid was. Since there was no disturbance being caused by the kid, they tried to help him instead, and even donated the table for him to work on. This incident proves that police officers are just like us, wanting to make the lives of local residents better. What did Jaquan's neighbor have to say about all this? So how would you react if you had a plan going in full swing only to backfire in a matter of minutes? It would definitely be frustrating for anyone to see that their plan had flopped right in front of their eyes. So you can already guess how furious the neighbor was when she realized what the police were doing. The woman was hoping Jaquan's business ended, but the exact opposite happened. The police actually went all out and did whatever they could to help the 13-year-old boy's business. They were not wasting any time trying to mess up his hot dog business, rather making a call and pulling all the strings to make sure he did not have to stop doing what he was doing. He even received an official permit and a special hot dog stand, all because of the helpful officers. Jaquan would have actually been glad that his neighbor had a complaint against him to the police, looking at all the things that took place after. They had helped him with quite a lot, doing whatever they can to make his business better. The police officers had helped give Jaquan his permit and also donated a hot dog stand. This was not all. They sent him an invitation to come to the precinct to sell his delicious food. So after being depicted as someone who was causing a wreckage on his community by one of his neighbors, a lot of things took place regarding the boy and his hot dog stand. So he must have been really surprised to see the turn of events when the police actually showed up to check on him. On the next picture, you will see how Jaquan feels about what went down after the call was made. The kid was indeed surprised to learn how the police handled the whole situation. Surprisingly, I'm like, dang, the city's not the bad guys in this situation. They're actually the ones who are helping me, expressed Jaquan when asked to comment about how he felt about the police doing all this for him. His gratitude was blatant, but the look of surprise on his face was even more evident. Like we have said in the beginning, there were quite a few living near Jaquan's home that liked to shoot down other people having a good time. Sadly, Jaquan's neighbor was not the only person who was not hesitant to make a call to the cops on people who are busy minding their own business, living their life. This other lady had a comment about the kid with the hot dog stall, which will leave you shocked. So when we tell you that there are people who just feel the need to try and end someone else having fun or a good time, we are not kidding. This woman in the above picture is named Barbecue Betty. There's a good reason why she'd been called so. It is mainly because she made a call to complain about a family trying to have fun in the local park she happened to be in. There was no fuss or commotion in the park that the family was gathering in. They were just planning to have a cookout in the park, but this was not okay with Betty. She soon decided to make a phone call to the police because she simply did not like the fact that they were having a barbecue. It was something unacceptable, according to Barbecue Betty, and this is what took place next. The family did absolutely nothing wrong, minding their own business, trying to enjoy some quality time at the park together. They wanted to relax in the park, having a barbecue in the nice outdoors. And for some strange reason, Betty had a notion in her head that organizing a barbecue in a special barbecue zone was an illegal act, which triggered her to call the cops. She was just spending time in the park too and suddenly spotted the family that was having a nice time preparing their barbecue food. Barbecue Betty thought the family was committing some crime cooking outdoors, so she made a call to the cops. You would have to guess that she was just a very mean-spirited person, or that she was just plain hungry. There was another odd thing she managed to do. When people realized that Barbecue Betty had made a phone call regarding the family cookout in the park, there were a few who reacted. She was making a complaint about something that was entirely legal. The family was minding their own business and was not at all violating any laws. Someone in the park decided to confront Betty for the thing that she did, and it was quite interesting. The woman who was also in the park had something she wanted to share with Betty. Since she was making a call to the police, the woman wanted to make sure Betty was clear with the rules and regulations. The woman went ahead and informed Betty that the area was a special portion of the park where folks could enjoy barbecues and cookouts. Betty did not accept this and still made a threat to call 911. It was indeed strange for Betty to have such a problem with this family having a barbecue. They were not disturbing anyone and were only there to have a nice time in the afternoon, but their fun was completely ruined by her. You can only imagine the level of frustration that this family must have faced when they learned that a random lady wanted their cookout to end. This is the kind of story that you would never think to actually happen to people, but unfortunately, folks like Betty actually exist just to make the lives of others a living hell. The incident regarding Betty making a call to the cops, giving a complaint about a family enjoying a barbecue in the park, soon became viral and was featured on national news too. This was not surprising because it was shocking to see that such evil people live on the planet too. So since she was so evil and had no sense of remorse whatsoever, Betty soon gained fame and notoriety for all the wrong reasons. Barbecue Betty was an instant star in her city because of the infamous call she made about the family having a good time in the park. She had indeed been blacklisted by everyone in the area who was planning on organizing a barbecue or a cookout. Many people, like the neighbor lady and Barbecue Betty, who would actually put an effort into stopping good things like little Jaquan's business from thriving. They do not feel bad about calling the cops on them. Let's hope Jaquan's inspiring story restores your faith in the authorities, that they would still do anything to help citizens and folks trying to do good.